ladies and gentlemen, we're back. I have a very special guest. I've had him before, Nate. Today we're going to talk about the white dove method. I want to talk about remote viewing a little bit. I want to talk about the matrix, the holographic world, certain things that he studied, and really how to really harness your higher self and your chi, which is another word for energy, right? He's like nodding his head. He's like, yes, it is.
Absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
One thing I want to say before you jump in, I've only had one transcendental moment my entire life, and I've been chasing like mystical experiences, and that was the night I actually met you, and it was
Yeah.
fucking wild, dude. It was like I was out of my body in a different place, and when I was still here, I wasn't afraid because I know what was going on, but my whole body was just shaking, dude. And it was like only happened to me once. I've had like very light minor, but this was like a full blown rocket launch, dude. It was like the night I met you. I was like, man,
Yeah.
sick.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't say that I had anything to do with that, but I like to think maybe I helped. Who knows? Who knows?
It was.
But
I mean,
congratulations.
hey, dude. I wouldn't say it was a coincidence. I would say it's synchronicities.
Right. Right. And once you ring that bell, you can't unring it. And I can tell you from my own personal experience, starting, having out of body projections when I was about 12, that it just absolutely changes everything in your life. It's something that you can't unsee unless well, you're really comfortable or you're really afraid
You know
of what
what?
that
I feel like
means.
when that happened, because I always want to have a mystical experience. I was working on the Kundalini breath a lot, but when it actually happened to me, it didn't really change me. I was like, oh, okay, well, it happened. I feel like, well, there's nothing special about me. This could happen to anyone. I feel like
Sure.
it came to me when I was in a good place in my life. Because if it came
Nice.
to me like 3, 4 years ago, I would have been freaking out.
And that's one thing about the Kundalini breath that a lot of people are teaching now is, if you ask a Kundalini yogi, they're going to say that the Kundalini awakening is something that takes place and should take place over time, and it should be a very gentle process. It should not be a out into the universe. That's kind of like that's forcing things. And so I've actually seen quite a few people that have had interesting psychosis because they went too far too fast and they just weren't ready and they were taught how to force it. And so that's unfortunate that happens to some people. Some people, their spirit's ready and they do it at the right time. But I agree. And there's a reason that it didn't happen for, 3 or 4 years ago for you, because it happened for the perfect time for you. And yes, if you're really ready to understand this, it should seem like, oh, okay, well, that's what happens now. That's the way that this is. I'm glad to know that I'm now more expanded than I was before, and I can start to see, hear, feel, and really know more about what real, quote unquote, real is and what truth is, rather than just believing or, say, even envying other people who have these experiences.
That
And
that
then,
that's what I did. I was actually envying other people because I would talk
yeah.
to like all these girls that had all these trips, but they had it a little too early and they had their own schisms. And I even went to Guatemala to go to a cave where there was no sound or light, sensory deprivation, and nothing happened. And then I come back home and then, but
Mm-hmm.
you know what happened? It happened right after I gave up. I was like, dude, whatever happens, happens. And it just
Right.
kind of came to me. I wasn't forcing it,
The
which,
surrender is important.
yeah. So
Yeah.
tell me more about the white dove method.
Well, so the White Dove Method actually is the full martial art and energy work, breath work, meditation, and expanded perception art from the kings of Java, Indonesia, that I brought to America in 1999. And so my brother and I operated one of the largest martial arts schools teaching this in Utah for 20 years. And then COVID crashed everything. And a lot of people don't know this, but within 6 months of the pandemic hitting, which most of us remember March 13th, Friday, March 13th, 2020 is when the world shut down. Within 6 months, over half of all the martial arts schools in the country had closed permanently.
That sucks, bro.
That's like 7,800 martial arts schools. So the industry publication said
That
closed
sucks,
permanently.
bro.
Yeah, right. So we were one of those ones that didn't fare too well. And, the thing is that it caused us to pivot. So the thing is that rather than teaching just kicking and punching and forms and, a lot of the respect, discipline, manners, the honor that is taught in traditional martial arts, we also have these other energy arts that other martial arts just simply do not have. And so when I was able to bring the white dove method, which is called Merpati Putih, that's the Indonesian term, which literally translated means white dove. It has 5 different aspects to it. So it's got forms and fighting, just like any other martial art does. But then it has 3 things that other martial arts in this country just do not have. It's very rare if they have even one, much less all 3. The third aspect is internal energy generation. And the way that we do this with it's a breathwork method that is like, let's say, a Bugatti and a lot of the other breathwork methods out there that you'll find, they're still great, but they're a Toyota Corolla. This is so powerful that even the most advanced breathwork instructors, whether they're Wim Hof level 2 instructors, they're Kundalini yoga masters, pranayama masters, they come and they go, oh my God, there's nothing like this in the world. This is the next level for everything breathwork. And we're like, yep, we've been saying that for 20 years, but it just wasn't time. It hadn't become really popular yet. But building your energy is the most important thing that you can do. If you think about it, the more life force you have, the more life you're going to be able to live. Plain and simple. So now they call it in Western, over in Asia, they call it chi or prana. But over here, we call it biomagnetism or we call it bioelectricity. And we all know that we have this. And now science is being able to really measure it much more detail in a much more detailed way. And so this method helps people build that faster than anything I've ever seen. And it does it with a lot of health benefits that go on top of it. So that's the third aspect. The fourth aspect is healing. So to put our own body into balance and a state of health, but also to be able to heal other people using this energy that we built in that third aspect, our own inner power, to help them. Nobody actually heals anybody else. No doctor heals anybody. What they do is they create the right conditions for the body to heal itself. And so, if you have a broken bone, put it back together. The body heals itself. The doctors don't heal you, and they admit that. Same thing goes with energy healing. Simply getting the energy to a person to allow them to rearrange their molecules, if you will, to then create healing, which I've seen people with cancer, stage 3 cancer, completely cured in a week. Like they have 0 cancer in their body within 5 days after a workshop. I've seen people get up out of their wheelchairs and walk. A couple of them for the first time in their whole life. I saw this with my own eyes because they were able through meditation to change the quantum reality of their body. And now this is becoming much more verified
I've seen
medically.
it on the
Yeah,
documentary that you were in.
yeah, it's a fantastic. I mean, what could be better than that? No drugs, no surgery, and can heal yourself with your mind and through the quantum field. And then the fourth aspect is the vibration or the seeing without your eyes. But it's even more than that. It's the science of vibration. So it's not just blindfolded tricks of finding beanbags or poles or driving cars. It's the expanded awareness of our consciousness, which is a really important thing because we seem to think, and we always think, because we experience ourselves from this local place right here in our body, but we know now with science that consciousness is not located in the body. It's non-local. It's everywhere. So there are machines that can measure your brain waves from outside your head without touching you. How is that possible if it's all inside your brain? It's not. So Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden are big proponents of this. So people can go and look those guys up on YouTube.
I already know about
Plenty of
them.
resources
I'm
on
actually
them.
listening to Beyond. No, Bruce Lipton. I'm listening to him right now. Yeah.
Such good material. And so we work on these 5 aspects. So fighting, forms, energy, building, healing, and then extrasensory perception or vibration perception. And so what happened was when COVID happened, we shut down our kids' martial arts, we shut down our adult martial arts, we had to shut down our health and fitness classes, and we started teaching seminars, 5-day workshops where people could come in from all over the country if they were willing to brave the blue skies and get on a plane, even wearing a mask, and fly in and actually have a 5-day transformational experience of the most advanced energy work and breathwork techniques that we had ever taught in 5 days rather than taking 5 years. of having to move to Ogden,
Woo!
Utah,
Sign me
training.
up, man.
So,
5 days. I mean,
yeah, and so
the crash course, as you
it
could
is
say.
a crash course. Now, there's definitely something to be said for going the long route. You can take go to the gym and you learn how to use all the equipment in the gym. But if you want to be a professional bodybuilder, no matter what you want, you're going to have to put in the time. That's just the way it
Yeah,
is. There's no other way around it. Seems you want to be
and
a classical pianist, you have to practice
and
hours a day for the rest, like
Nate, there's
forever.
also something special about like when you're doing it with like 10, 15 people versus you do it by yourself. Like I feel
True.
like it's more potent, especially
E-
when you have channeling that type of energy.
Especially also more motivational too, because
Yeah,
you got,
way more
yeah,
motivational
for
too.
sure. And so, what I do now with the White Dove method is last year, my brother and I decided to split our company and do different things. Okay. So he still works on the vibration and works specifically on the blindfolded side. I do a bit of that, but I have really focused on the internal energy generation, the internal healing, the healing of other people. Then we get into the psi abilities of remote viewing, out of body experiences, remote hearing, things like that. And that's for people who really are interested in those things. But every single person that comes to us, and oh, there's one other thing, and this might be interesting for some of your viewers. None of you out there have to raise your hand about this, but erectile dysfunction is a real
Oh, I'm
problem.
putting my hand down. Sorry, I raised it
Uh,
before.
well, but it is. It's a real problem. And there's a lot of different reasons. Number one, we're being poisoned with our food and our air and everything. This stress. There's a lot of factors that go into it. But you know, Viagra and Cialis, the thing that they do, the only thing that they do is they increase nitric oxide production in the body. That's it. That's all they do. That is their claim to fame. They do nothing else. And so the thing is nitric oxide can be produced by breathing nasally and also by taking in some sunlight. But if you do it in the right way, it can really, like this White Dove method, boost your nitric oxide level through the roof. So there's no wonder that it has saved a lot of marriages. Wink,
so,
wink.
so
Mm,
Nate, you're working on now like internal healing through breath work.
absolutely.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
I just want to clear that up.
yeah. And that's part of it. That's one small part of what I'm doing now. Yeah. So the internal healing, the libido in the bedroom enhancement there,
Yeah,
that's a good side effect, but also longevity. And that's a really important thing because studies have shown, and these are big, major studies, have shown that the number one thing that leads to longevity or longer lifespan is increased or a higher lung capacity. Now, that's not how much you can breathe in. That's how much total that your lungs can hold. But you cannot increase your lung capacity by just breathing in more. The way you increase your lung capacity is how much you can fully exhale. And so I have a complete longevity breath program that I'm designing right now that people can go in and they learn how to increase their lung capacity, extend their life, and the benefits that come along with this. It's just a
nice.
cascade of awesome.
I'll
It
try it
really
out.
is.
I mean, I'm a swimmer, so I'm sure it'll really help me out.
Well, and so you'll find this interesting. Um, what, for instance, do you know what the world record is for a breath hold for a human?
What, like 8 minutes? I'm just shooting in the dark.
I believe it's 24 minutes and 39 seconds for a human being. Now, if it's a dolphin or a whale, okay, maybe, or a crocodile, fine. But a
24
human being
minutes.
that can hold his breath for 24 and a half minutes, he's, obviously a prime specimen that is like, okay, this is unique. But he didn't start that way. He went through specific exercises that increase his lung capacity and then his ability to lower his heart rate, his blood pressure at will, which are things that we at the White Dove method we work on specifically on how to do. So that's one reason. Another reason why this this power breathing method is used by every branch of the Indonesian military, every one, because if you can stay calm under pressure, you make less mistakes, you have more stamina, you're able to make better decisions, and overall, you're better in combat.
Doesn't the U.S. military use it? But they use like box breathing.
They
It's
use
something
box
different.
breathing like the SEALs,
Yeah,
yes. They use that to help calm down, but this is quite different than that. This is
nice.
more of a hard breath rather than a meditative counting breath, but we do have a lot of those as well. We have all kinds of different things
And
that come
also,
into play.
your method also helps with stress. I'm guessing because
That as well.
longevity is probably less stress.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is your body produces stress hormones in order to, if you have a bear attacking you, it's important to have stress hormones.
Yeah.
But where we get into the problem, and if you're going to go to Joe Dispenza's event, you're going to hear a lot about this. That we can make ourselves sick through our hormones. We can also make ourselves well, and it's all through thought. Because if you think it, your body doesn't know whether you're experiencing it or not. It just it takes it for granted. Yes, I'm experiencing this. So when we start to have stressful thoughts, which I'm sure everybody out there can raise their hand about having that sometimes, we produce upwards of 1,400 different chemicals every single time we have a thought. 1,400 different kinds of hormones and chemicals when we have a single thought. So we're doing all this stuff that is just we can't even possibly fathom how much is going on in our body. Every single cell. We have what 37 trillion cells. Each one is doing roughly 6 trillion functions per second. Every one. So this is all being taken care of by our spirit, by our subconscious, by our unconscious. There's a lot of things going into this that get this on autopilot because we can't possibly think about all these things and accomplish them, you know. But one thing that we can do of all the autonomic nervous system processes, the one that we can control right away is our breath. Our, hormonal production or our digestion, things like that, those can be hacked. Yes, those can be. Yogis have been doing that for thousands of years, but it takes a long time and not everybody can do it. Everybody can hold their breath, pretty much. So
I'm gonna
when
have to
we
try
do
it, man.
that, yeah, when we do this and we start to take in the energy that's around us, say the yang chi, right? The chi, the air comes in through our body as we breathe in, and we're able to harness that and store it in our body. Then we're able to use it for health, but also some superhuman feats. So people that have seen the White Dove Method or Merpati Putti, they see steel breaking and iron and big slabs of stone, or there's clips out there of me and others who were able to take a stack of tiles and break just the ones that we want by focusing our energy on just
Like in
those ones.
Bloodsport,
Exactly.
Van Damme. Woo!
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. And
exactly.
so, yeah, because everything's energy. And,
Yeah, it
and
is, bro.
you're going to hear this a lot that since everything is energy, everything has a vibration and all it's a frequency, and all frequencies carry information. And
And
so it's
that's all
just
there is to it.
how do we program this amazing consciousness, our heart and our mind, our gut, and our consciousness, like I said, is everywhere. How do we program this in order to do and have and be what we want in our life? It's
Got
just a
it.
matter of focus and training and time and diligence, and sometimes getting out of the way and surrendering and allowing it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, dude. I like the way you just twisted that into yeah. Got it. Couple questions for you, man. I know you've been studying martial arts and consciousness for a while. I'm really, really getting into like holographic universe and like the gateway experience, the Morone Institute. To my understanding, the way that is and the way we could project our consciousness is apparently we're all connected
Yeah.
somehow through the ether, the globe, something's going on, man.
Mm.
What are your thoughts
Correct.
on that?
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, so, okay. So I'm going to tell you a quick story that actually happened to me last night. So this is so pertinent that you mentioned this. So a good friend of mine, who's also one of our former students in our courses, he and his daughter both. Well, he moved to Florida a few months ago, and I didn't know that. I haven't been in touch with him since pre-COVID, but I saw a post of his 2 days ago on Facebook, and he was wearing all white, and he's having a great time on a beach. And I was like, oh man, I need to reach out to him. I haven't talked to him forever. I wonder how he's doing. So yesterday I'm in LAX, gonna come fly home here to Utah. And I'm
You're
sitting at my gate and somebody comes up and gives me a hug from behind. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? Nobody does that. First of all, martial artists, I'm like combative right away, but first I'm almost like, but it's gentle. They're not trying to hurt me. I turn around and it's that friend of mine. Turns out he was flying from Los Angeles, where he was doing a seminar, leading an executive leadership seminar. He had a layover in Utah so that he could fly home to Florida. And we just so happened to be on the same flight. So, what are the chances of that? But it gets better. Turns out we were in the same row. sitting next to, pretty close to each other, like
Like a
one
right
person,
side, left side. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, across the
Still,
aisle,
dude, close enough to talk.
across the aisle. And I was on his list of people he was going to call this week to reach out to for a breathwork component for his executive leadership things. So, are we all connected? Absolutely. Do I understand exactly how? No one does because it's too
Yeah.
complex. It's above our pay grade for truly
That's what I
understanding.
was trying to tell you off air. Like I'm trying to
Yeah.
wrap my head around it, but it is a little
Yeah.
complex, man.
Yeah, you could wrap your head around it, but trying to understand how the architecture of synchrodestinies and synchronicities work, good luck.
Yeah. Actually, that
It's
happened to me yesterday on a very light note. I was thinking of my childhood friend. I'm like, dude, I wonder how he's doing. And he actually texts me. He's
yep.
like, hey, well, I'm gonna come down and see you in a
Yeah.
month. I was like, ooh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
absolutely, right? It's
yeah,
excellent. And so we are 100% connected, and there is now a lot of research showing that when, for instance, there's a great book called The Intention Experiment by an author named Lynn McTaggart. And one of the things that they did in this was they took blood from someone and they took it and moved it to a remote location. And so they had blood in two locations and they lit one of them on fire and the other one registered shock. And they did that again with plants. So they took a plant and they lit one of the plants on fire and like burned it with a lighter, and the other ones were registering shock. So they were able to immediately pick up that something was wrong. And I mean, there's so much research. I won't go into all of it because I can't go into all of it. It's been going on for decades, showing instantaneous, and I mean instantaneous, awareness transfer between locations of any distance.
yeah.
Of any
Well, I mean, I
distance.
believe it, brother. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I totally
Cool.
believe it. I mean, there's like overwhelming evidence now, like scientific evidence, like
Right.
mostly done in the 60s and 70s, and then they just went hush hush, like, oh, did they perfect it or what?
It's
As
coming
far as,
back out.
well, I mean, like I feel like the military kind of perfected their, they have like a certain steps for people to do certain things, to be more aware, let's just say.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
but to your point with the Monroe Institute and the Gateway experience is the one that you can have at home. The Gateway Voyage is what you do at the Monroe Institute or one of their locations, right? But they used to train the CIA remote viewers, the Stargate project. I had friends of mine who were part of that.
do you recommend it? Because me and my friend are gonna go do it, dude, in Virginia, the voyage.
Oh, in Virginia, there's also Arizona. There's different
There's
places.
there's Arizona too. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I haven't done it myself, but a really close friend of mine is actually the greeter at the Monroe Institute. He's the guy that
Nice,
greets everybody. But I would recommend it for sure. It's a great
nice.
experience, and it's actually a bucket list thing for me too, because like I mentioned right before we started this, when I started having out of body experiences spontaneously when I was like 12 or 13 years old, as soon as I got a car, I was 16, like the day after I turned 16, I had a job. I was working. The very first thing that I ever bought with my own money was a book called Journeys Out of the Body by Robert Monroe. And the second thing I ever bought was the Gateway Experience on cassette tape.
Damn.
So,
Ding.
yeah,
Rewinding it, replaying
yeah.
it.
So
That's
I've
awesome,
always
man.
wanted to do it.
I feel like, I mean, I don't necessarily care about like projecting my consciousness into someone else's bedroom
No,
or out of body experience. It's the fact that I have power over my
right.
world, and I can do great things, and help other people, or just become successful, or just be able to travel and work remotely. Those type of things. I feel like that's what really appeals to me. Like, wait, I'm not like helpless, and people don't have control over my life. Like I have control over my life. What? They didn't teach me this in school.
No, no. Well, school's not designed for that, though. School's designed to make us good workers.
Yeah,
But critical thinking skills is not, well, now it's becoming more and more popular, but the schools that we grew up in, like the public school system, no, it's you're taught to memorize and regurgitate, and a lot of the
literally,
information is not accurate. Like Columbus did not discover America.
it was
He hit
America.
Cuba, never made it here. He never set foot on the American mainland ever. So, but he didn't, and the Vikings were here. They found a Viking ship in the Mississippi Delta, Mississippi River Delta, down like Louisiana area, that they've carbon dated to 7,500 years ago.
Nice. They haven't found alien ship in Lake Michigan, but hey, no one talks about that.
Yeah. things have been going on for a long time that we're not
Yeah,
aware of, and that's okay because no matter what, all of that notwithstanding, what really matters right now is the present moment and how we're experiencing and what we're learning right here, right now.
I agree.
Yeah.
Man, one thing that I'm trying to wrap my head around is the fact that the past, the present, and the future are all intertwined. Cause cause I've been taught that time is like this, you just go straight, but not really, man. It's all like,
Our experience through our life and witnessing, the birth and death of people around us or animals or plants or things shows that yes, time is linear, but our physical bodies do travel through time in one direction, right? But consciousness being non-physical, it's not bound by the rules of the physical world. So therefore, everything exists and nothing exists. It's a trip. It's definitely a
spooky
trip.
particles at a
Yeah.
distance.
Yeah. And so
Yeah,
there's a really cool for all the the watchers,
listeners. Yeah,
viewers,
yeah,
and
viewers.
listeners out
Yeah,
there. There's a really neat documentary. It's 7 minutes long. It's kind of almost like a cartoon. It's on YouTube called The Egg. Now,
I've seen it. I saw it a month ago. Randomly, it's a cartoon.
there's no random. You
Yeah,
saw what a
well,
verb is. So,
yeah,
when it's talking, are you God? Yes, I'm God. And yeah, there's lots of people. There's lots like me, but you wouldn't understand if we went there. You wouldn't understand. So it's like, oh, all right. So if the God that created this entire universe is one of infinite other creative beings that are in other dimensions that we can't possibly fathom, that are not part of this universe, that goes back infinitely from they were all created by some infinite creators and infinite creators, then your mind just goes, okay,
yeah.
too much.
It it's actually quite beautiful. I had to watch it twice. So
Yeah.
what happens is this guy in today's time, for our time, he gets into a car accident. He dies. He has a wife and kids. Regular guy. He was driving this car, and then I guess he meets God or his understanding of God,
Yeah.
and then they're like, "You're a part of me, so you're God too, and we all are.
Yeah.
We're all interconnected." And it's kind of funny. And then he goes back and he's reincarnated in the 15th century, which
Mhm.
proves that time doesn't really exist. It was kind of beautiful.
Yeah. But we experience time as existing in linear. So because we do have a certain, I guess, expiration date in order to learn and send back information to our source. And then we get to do that who knows how many times. And, so there are a lot of people that are like, oh yeah, in my past life, but what if we're actually living tens of thousands of lives simultaneously? It's not a past life, or it's a multiplicity of lives, or multiple lives. Then your head goes again. But really, all that matters, most important, is what we're doing right here, right now, in this given moment. And I say given because it's a gift for us to have this present moment. And are we aware? That's something that I encourage everybody to do as many times as possible per day is ask themselves, am I paying attention? Am I aware? Am I really aware? Or am I thinking of something in the past that I cannot change? Or am I thinking about something in the future that hasn't happened yet? Am I having an out of body experience? Meaning my awareness isn't in my body. I'm thinking of something somewhere else. Maybe I'm not astrally projecting, but the late Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddhist monk, he called that an out of body experience. It's when you're not, well, put it this way, anybody who's ever driven somewhere and gotten there and go, kind of like, wow, how did I get here? I was thinking about my taxes and kids and
Yeah,
soccer and everything else. I'm glad my car knew the way. He termed it, considered that an out of body experience because you weren't really in your body. And so
interesting. And that's happened to all of us, man.
all the time.
That's why I jump into ice baths every day, so I can
Yeah.
stay in the present moment. I'm not thinking about my bills, nothing, man.
Nope.
Just in the moment. Yeah. It's funny
Nope.
enough when you are in the moment, like you said, you create a bio energy field that kind of protects you from the cold.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in a way, yes. That's the thing is there are many civilizations that lived in such bitter freezing cold and they had very little coverings and they lived, thousands of years or, many generations in what now it would kill us. We would say, oh yeah, hypothermia and die. And they lived in this. group of people at the tip of South America, and supposedly they lived without clothes. And that is, I mean, the tip of what was that, Cape Horn, I think, down there, the
I have
bottom
no
of
idea.
Peru or Argentina. No, at the very bottom, bound by the Strait of Magellan. Down next
Yeah,
place
yeah,
you
I know what
go
you're
is
talking about.
Antarctica. People lived there and supposedly without clothes, and it's always cold and windy. Who knows? There's a lot we don't quite understand yet,
Mhm.
but that's a cool thing, I think, as far as especially with the white dove method, is we're always pushing that limit of what we can do today, this moment. It's not about what we did yesterday. It's not about what somebody else did. It's about what we can do right now. And as long as you're always giving your best effort, no matter what, you are growing, you are learning, you are taking information in, and you're going to be progressing in your life some way. It's when people get so complacent and unconscious that they're like, yep, this is all it is. Work, family, work, family, work, family, work, family. Once in a
No,
while,
you're gonna die,
recreate,
bro.
drink some beer, watch a football game, and then die. But the thing is we have this opportunity every single second of every single day, because there's no such thing as an ordinary or boring moment. There's in a great book called Way of the Peaceful Warrior, the sage named Socrates in the book, he said, there's never nothing going on. It's very true. There's never nothing going on. But are you paying attention? Am I paying attention?
Most of the time, no. But sometimes I do stop and not sometimes every day I stop and pay attention.
Good, good.
But most of the time I'm not
That's
because
it. Well, and you'll learn at Joe Dispenza's event that 95% of the time, about after about age 30, 95% or more of the time, we are running an unconscious programmed set of actions, reactions, and habit patterns. And only about 5% of our day are we actually consciously aware. That's
well,
pretty
I mean
scary.
it's not the first time I was there. The first time I went, I stopped drinking,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, that's why I like to go into the unknown. Like I like to travel.
Yeah. Me
Like
too.
you went to Indonesia, dude, back in the '90s, right?
No, it was 2005,
To
2007, and 2013, but things are much different now than they were then.
yeah. Well, I mean, but it was like complete like night and day difference from Utah.
Oh, huge. Oh my God.
Huge.
And even, yeah, yeah, that's
Uh,
still the case, but they've caught up a lot more with modern society now since the early 2000s.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was there back in 2019. It was still nice, but the point is you're going into the unknown.
Yeah.
So you cannot you're not on autopilot.
No,
You don't know where it's going.
correct.
It's not your culture. So
No.
you're kind of like in the moment, which I highly recommend to people to travel.
Yes.
And
That's my favorite thing to do. Really, I love to see the world.
dude, you travel a lot. Now thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I just got back from the middle of the Mojave Desert doing energy work and meditation training with an exclusive business group there. And then I spent time in Malibu, which that's very different. That's also still California, a very different place. So I went from the driest, hottest, scorpion infested climate to doing the energy work on the beach with surfers out there having a great time and sea lions playing. Uh,
Do you think doing energy work in certain locations is more potent
yeah.
than just doing it like let's say at your house, like doing it in Sedona? Everybody knows about Sedona, dude. It's kind of like healing center, hippie work. I mean, there is something to it, dude. It is like makes me feel good when I get there.
Yeah, I've never actually been, but I've heard about all the different the vortices there, and a lot of healing energy. But yes, there are certain spots in the world, different ley lines, different points on the, like Mount Shasta is another one, Maui is another one, that are energetic hot spots where there's just more um, energy. And so, if you
Yeah,
think of it this way, the yang, the two kinds of yin and yang, right? Yin is contained within the earth, and so there are certain spots where it's going to be more powerful and it wants to rise. So that's why a lot of monasteries and a lot of monks and ascetics, they go to the top of mountains to do their meditations, is to gather the yin energy as it rises up through the rocks and through the mountains.
interesting.
But yang is a solar phenomenon. It's, according to Chinese energy philosophy, it is captured in the atmosphere from the sun. It's a solar.
Like ether, like the
Mm.
ether.
Yes, but it's like it gets stuck in. like I don't know, maybe the UV rays come in and they get stuck or something. You'd have to go down that. I haven't looked into that one nearly as much as I could, but I can tell you that with the white dove method, the breath work techniques, the energy that we start off with at the very start is the energy from the air, to take that into our body and harness that in a way that makes us more electric and really electrifies every one of our cells. Once we get to the vibration stuff, and so maybe seeing without your eyes, with the remote viewing, tapping into feeling where somebody is hurt or sick and body scanning them, that is the yin. That is the vibrational, the opposite energy of the power energy. So we've got power and we have vibration. And the white dove method is really the only art that I've seen that matches those two on such a large level. No other art I've ever seen does it.
Nice. And you do this online.
What's that?
You have online courses.
I do. Yes, I actually have a free course, a masterclass course, a longevity breath course, and inner power building course. And then I'm working on my healing course to help people be able to heal themselves and other people, which is
Nice.
that's been requested more than anything else because
Well,
yeah.
man, people are sick of modern medicine. Like it'll help you if you get your hand chopped off. Like I'm not gonna go to a shaman if my hand's chopped off.
No,
Like I want to go to the ER.
no.
Yeah, but for I feel like more complex things like depression, anxiety. Certain people have like pains, and they go to the doctor. The doctor does a bunch of scans, CAT scan, this scan, MRIs. They can't find anything, but they know they have that pain. I feel
Mhm.
like it's more deeper, something internal.
Allopathic medicine or Western medicine, it admits fully that it sucks at chronic conditions. It's not very good. When it comes to acute trauma, yeah, if you have a huge brain tumor, having surgery to remove the brain tumor is probably going to be a very good idea. If your hand gets chopped off or you break your leg, yes, please put Humpty Dumpty back together again. Don't stick needles in me. No Rama Lama Ding Dong. No, prayer is good to help me heal faster, but it's not going to help me while I'm bleeding out on the table, right? But when it comes down to things like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, when it comes down to depression, anxiety, when it comes to allergies, they don't even understand. Nobody understands what allergies are. They can come on for any reason or no reason. It's like it's a mystery. There are ways to
Apparently,
treat
it's
it.
your genes going off or something like that.
Not quite, nobody's actually 100% sure. But there are
Yeah, that's
many
true.
different corrections that you can do energetically that reverse allergies. I actually just had my chiropractor do that for me because I kept getting, just like a week and a half ago, because I kept getting I really congested. And I'm like, okay, everything just popped here in Utah. We went from like 45-degree day high to 85 in 2 days. That's welcome to Utah. So all the pollen came out and I was really congested. And I was wondering what the hell is going on. So I went and I asked, and he tested me for like pollen and mold and all the plant. It wasn't that. What it was chemtrails, chemtrails that they're putting in the sky, and also nanoparticles. So the specifically the 2.5 nanometer pollution particulates. And so he did a quick allergy correction on that energetically for me, and immediately they were gone. Haven't returned. I mean, literally within 10 seconds, they were gone. And he didn't tell me what they were until after he was done and they got better. Then he said, okay, that's what they were. So it wasn't a placebo effect like, well, maybe it's this. Nope. He did everything silently, and all of a sudden they were blinked, they were gone. So there are some amazing things that can happen energetically, even for something like that. But chronic conditions, that's where energy medicine, that's where the Chinese medicine or the Ayurvedic, there's so many different ways to heal the body. That's where those really shine, but especially breath work. And, it's kind of cool that when I first started off with the breathwork modality for the White Dove method, there was breathwork already. Sure, holotropic breathwork by Stanislav Grof, they'd been doing that since decades before. Pranayama's been around for like 3,000 years, right? So there's been all kinds of breathwork and meditation stuff. But it wasn't until Wim Hof really started setting these world records and making this a mainstream thing that people started doing this. And, the cool thing is that breath work is the fastest growing naturopathic modality in the world right now.
That's awesome, dude. I do it every time. Actually, I did it today.
Yeah.
I did it today. And an ice bath. I even went out of my way to buy an $800 ice chest machine
Oh,
where,
jeez.
like, where you store meat. I
Right.
sealed it up. I plugged it in full of water every day. I keep it cold for like 4 hours. It builds up a little ice. Dude, I
Mm,
jump in there for 3 minutes at a time,
yeah,
twice a day. No
right.
pain in my body.
Yeah. Yeah.
My
The
heartbeat goes
inflammation
down.
affects.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And so, as far as cold water immersion, that's been in China, Japan. Russians have been pouring like the whole ALS ice bucket
Yeah.
challenge that was going on. But Russians have been doing that for centuries, and for
But here's the
well,
thing.
for
Modern
kids.
science modern science tells us if you're in the water for 3 minutes and it's cold, you're gonna go into hypothermia and die. I've done it 15 minutes, up
Sure,
to my neck,
sure.
like cold ice cubes everywhere, and I'm
Yeah.
fine, dude. I get out. Yeah, I was shivering for like 10 minutes after that. I'm fine.
Well, yeah, you don't want to push your luck too far on that because then, yeah, you can actually die. But the thing
Too
is,
far, yeah.
what's cool though is, and I'm sure you'd agree, is what the human body can do. What's not cool is the limitations that society puts on us, telling
Or
us
def-
you can't do these things, can't do these things, can't do these things. But it's like the bumblebee, aerodynamically, it should not be able to fly. But don't tell the bumblebee that it's too busy flying.
yeah, very true. Has
You
small
know,
wings, big body, and it's flying.
right? It's
Yeah.
not supposed to be able to fly. We should not really be able to walk erect because of the way our spine is shaped. Don't tell me that. I'm walking upright all the time.
I mean, tell
So
me anything you want. I'm still gonna walk.
I'm still going to walk upright, you
Yeah.
know. And then you've got people that do an American Ninja Warrior and do stuff that's way more than walking upright. Maybe you shouldn't be able to do that either, except for they can. So, that's one thing that I really love about what I do and what I've been doing for the past 20 something years. Ever since I saw a blind woman almost get killed right in front of me, the day after I saw a videotape showing Indonesian people blindfolded doing the most amazing things like driving cars through traffic and riding bicycles through obstacles and blind people being able to read
Dude,
printed text.
how does that feel? Can you just explain that to me? How would that feel?
How
Let's
would
just
that?
say you're blindfolded,
Mm.
but you know your surroundings.
It's different for everybody. That's the cool thing about it is because some people are going to be good at math and naturally. Other people are great at science. Other people are amazing visual artists. People, there are people that can hear music once and reproduce it, and that's all. They only have to hear it once. There are people who are musical geniuses like this, right? So we all have our own talents. Not everybody, and very few people actually can see without their eyes, but some people can, and they have that natural ability, and we harness that ability. But most people are more feelers, they're more kinesthetic. So if I say, for instance, I've got a post it note right here. So this is yellow, and the reason it's yellow is because it reflects yellow wavelengths to you. It doesn't reflect blue, or else it would be like my glasses here, which are blue. The reason that's really relevant because if you turn off the lights, this is no longer yellow. You can't see it. There's nothing reflected, so you wouldn't know. You could tell it's paper because that's the molecular makeup of it, right? But you wouldn't know what color it is because there's no light. So what happens is every single one of our cells has photoreceptors, every single one of them. So a good friend of mine who's a physicist, his wife gets seasonal affective disorder where she gets depressed during the winter. So he got her these little light diode earplugs. They go in her ears and they shine blue light onto her eardrums and they get rid of her depression.
That's awesome.
Why would you
Yeah,
need light receptors on your eardrums?
because I'm guessing it's all over your body, your
It's
receptors.
everywhere. And
Yeah,
here's the reason why. I don't know if this is the reason why, but this is the truth. We are made of light. We are actually slowed down, dense form of light. And we actually emit visible light, not ultraviolet, not infrared, not X rays.
yeah.
We emit visible
Photons.
light. And there's actually cameras now that was developed in Japan that they can take a picture of the light. It's like reds, greens, blues, all those shades, invisible light spectrum. And they can take a picture and find out where your different organs are not functioning very well or you have a disease. And the thing is, it's visible light, but it's 1,000 times less than our eyes can detect. But like we were saying before the show started, just because someone denies what is real does not make that less real. That just means their perception of what is real is skewed.
Yeah. And by the way, that's a fact. They do a lot of tests right now, even in Arizona actually, where people meditate and they release light, and all these scientists are like, "Oh my God, this is groundbreaking technology," and one of them just jumped in like, "No, no, 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 this has been going on for thousands of years. It's called enlightenment."
That's enlightenment. Enlightenment. Yes,
Enlightenment. Yeah, the light's
exactly.
coming out. The light's in light. Yeah, it's actually
Precisely.
quite beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah,
man. This
precisely.
is why I like talking to you.
Yeah.
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 Um, so when I do the Moreau Institute, I mean, I can't even explain like some of those steps I go into, like focus 12, focus 15, but I can literally just jump out and see myself.
Good.
Like literally, I'm just looking at myself. Or I'm just looking around the room while I'm with my eyes closed, sitting down meditating.
Mhm.
But if people ask me to explain that, I mean, I wouldn't know where to begin. But I know I'm doing it, dude, and I've done it numerous times.
Yeah. So for me, I don't know if it'll help you or anybody else out there that's had similar experiences, or if you haven't and you would like an explanation for this, hopefully this makes sense. It's like a dream. Okay. So you've, all of us have had a dream, I'm sure, that was so vivid. It was like you were there, but your eyes were closed. You're having these things happen. And you're seeing, you're maybe hearing. A lot of people don't, most people don't taste things in their dreams, but maybe some do. But as far as the visual, now people who were born blind, from speaking with many of them, I don't know that they have visual dreams, but I have friends who have lost their sight and they do. And the thing is that if we're able to see, quote unquote, see without our eyes, what that shows right away is that vision is actually, we actually see with our mind, not with our eyes. The eyes are instruments, yes, but our consciousness is far beyond just what our physical body is. So that's why with the Monroe Institute uh, mantra, when they start off, it always starts off with, I am more than my physical body.
Yeah, and
That's the
since I'm
first
more than
thing.
this physical self, I could project my consciousness. Ooh,
Yeah.
that's very true. Yes.
And it's because we're a lot more than society or our even our own observations have allowed us to believe. But where we're at right now, Krupp, is this is the best time in history for this because we have information transference that is so fast where let's say it was even let's say 30 years ago and we didn't have the internet. You might have books that you could read on out of body experiences or things of that nature. But if you wanted to actually learn it, you would have had to have gone to the Monroe Institute. Or if you wanted to build chi, go to the Shaolin Temple in China and live there for decades, practicing all the forms and doing all the meditations and breath work and things. But you wouldn't have a clue what the shamans in South America were doing, or the Inuit people were doing for energy work, or the Native Americans and the Paiute tribe, what they did for spirituality, or Wicca over in Europe. To be schooled in all these different things would have taken many, many lifetimes. And I'm sure that, I mean, no problem there. It's just now we have access to so much of it. And that's what I'm bringing now as well is the stuff that was hidden for 500 years within the royal family of Java that is so freaking powerful that it's a force multiplier for anything else. Anything else people do. This is like having a nuclear power plant at your disposal when you need energy to power whatever other abilities or modalities that you're doing. So it's something that fits with everything else. But until I brought it to America with my brother, nobody would have ever heard about it. And even to this day, it's still discouraged to train non-Indonesian people over there. Very few of the trainers will. I've actually had somebody come to one of our workshops who lives in Bali, and he went to every single one of the Merpati Putih or White Dove schools there. No one would train him because he's Caucasian.
And you came all the way from Bali to you, to
He flew
Utah.
all the way to Austin, Texas to do our event that we were doing there.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Cool, brother.
yeah.
Looking forward to it. I'm actually definitely gonna try it.
Cool.
Why not, dude?
Yeah.
Now it's like, why not, bro?
Well,
What am I
you'll
gonna
love
lose?
it.
Nothing. I'm just gonna gain,
Yeah,
right?
you'll love it.
Other than that, I will leave your information on, so people can contact you.
Yeah,
Nate, thank you again, man. It's
my
always
pleasure.
enlightening to talk to you.
Likewise.
Appreciate it very much. Ladies and gentlemen, go and subscribe to this episode, and we'll definitely catch you next time.